Welcome back to Relatable Wisdom, the podcast where everyday people share the quotes that have shaped their lives, offering you small moments of insight that can transform your everyday perspective. Today's guest is Jamey Maniscalco, a neuroscientist who understands both the science of wellness and the deeply personal journey of living it. He's someone who's walked through life's unexpected challenges, from supporting his father through cancer to facing his own diagnosis and emerged with a profound understanding of what it really means to build resilience. Let's step into Jamie's world and hear the words that have guided him through it all. Okay, tell us your name and what you do, Jamie.
Yeah. So I'm Jamey Maniscalco. I'm a PhD neuroscientist as well as the founder of Manifest Wellness, which is a coaching and consulting firm looking to help people find small changes that they can make in their day-to-day life to see big wellness transformation.
Oh, wow, I love that. Thank you
Yeah.
for being a guest on the podcast today.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, what's your favorite quote, Jamie?
Yes, I think my favorite quote, at least at the moment, is a quote by Nietzsche, which it's he who has a why to live can bear almost any how.
Ooh, let us sink in. He who has a why to live can bear with almost anyhow. Can you unpack that? What does it mean to have a why, and what's the how we're talking about?
Yeah. So here, what I see the key interpretation, or one of the key interpretations of this quote is, um, it is critical to have your why in life. And here, I think what Nietzsche was highlighting, but how I interpret it is a lot of this has to come with deeper purpose and meaning. What is it that drives you? What is it that is meaningful for you? This is your why. And for me, it took a long time to figure out my why. And so, for example, when I was just coming out of graduate school, I had actually just gotten my PhD in neuroscience, but I decided to leave academia and move into consulting in the pharmaceutical industry. So I was consulting for pharmaceutical companies, and consultants make very good money. So I was making very good money coming right out of grad school. I hadn't been making much money in my life. And so I was so excited to be getting a big paycheck. It felt really validating in some way. And I'm bringing this home, but the work that I was doing wasn't work that I was passionate about. It was work that the companies were telling us, this is what we need. We're hiring you. You get this done. And for me, the hours were really long. The work was challenging, but not in a way that I enjoyed. It was more mundane and kind of boring and repetitive, and I could do it easily. So it didn't challenge me. It wasn't interesting. And I'm bringing home this great paycheck every couple of weeks, but I didn't love the work. And I was miserable. I was so unhappy during that period. And I was doing really well at work. Things were going well. I was continuing to progress. I was getting promoted.
Yeah,
I'm looking 5 years down the line, but every day couldn't wait to stop working and I dreaded going in. And so here I'm sitting in this position looking at a job that's paying well, that's going to pay me even better over time. However, I'm not happy when I'm doing it 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And I had this realization that I can't do this for this much longer. I was burnt out. I was tired. And I thought, this isn't bringing me any happiness. And I don't need the extra money I'm making to live and to survive. And so I made the really challenging choice to give up the high paying consulting job and go back into academia and education and get a postdoctoral fellowship, which is a fellowship that leads into being a faculty member at a college. And so here I go back into something super enriching, but I cut my paycheck a huge amount. And I thought, oh, this is going to hurt, right? This isn't going to be fun. And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made. It didn't feel like a terrible decision. It wasn't even that challenging. We had to change our lifestyle, but I found so much meaning, so much purpose, so much happiness in what I was spending that many hours a week doing, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, that I couldn't have paid, I would have paid more. I would have taken a bigger pay cut to be able to do this because it was such a great opportunity to do something I loved. And because I did something I loved, I was better at it. I brought more energy, more excitement. My students were learning. And so here, what I really realized was for me, the money is not the why. For me, and for many people, it might be. And that is great, good for you. But for me, it's not. And so I can't do a job just to get paid a certain amount of money or for the prestige. For me, what I found was I want a job that absolutely can help support my family, but it needs to be something where I feel like I'm contributing more, something where I feel like I'm doing good in the world, something where I feel like I'm making a difference. And for me, that's my why.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that story, Jamie. Now, the
Yeah.
thoughts that's running through my head is, a lot of persons would have what do you call it now? The same job, right? And
Mhm.
now I'll give an example. Let's say the job you were working on before, right? Before you found your why. Let's say when you eventually found your why, right? Okay, let's just say you were doing this teaching job, this one you switched to, but you didn't know
Mhm.
your why. You were just doing it. It just happened to be, one of the things that you finished school, and this was what you started doing. But over time, you later found your why, and you realized that when you did find your why, you didn't have to, because a lot of persons, not everybody that finds their why have to switch jobs. Because sometimes when they find their why, that's the job they should be doing. But now they know why they are doing this in the first place, right?
Yes.
And everything changes. Now it's no longer, oh, this is the job where I have to like make pay the bees. I think that's one of the reasons
Yeah.
why people switch job. But now there's a deeper reason. There's a deeper why. And I'm just saying because I feel like in today's day and age, a lot of things that people do, they don't have a why they do it. Now, I'm not just talking about the big things. I'm talking about, those goals, those desires, right? It's like, oh, everybody's saying this thing is lovely to do. I think I should do it too, right? They don't even know why
Mm.
they want to do it. And so when it comes for them, when the how becomes difficult, they're like, no, no, not really. I'm not interested.
Exactly. And you see people jumping around and they're unhappy, but then they're happy for a moment because they found something that seems exciting, and then it gets difficult, they're unhappy, so they switch. And here, I think that comes back to like the end of this quote highlights is, when you have a why, you can bear almost any how. And so like you're highlighting here, one of the challenges is when we don't have that why and it's not identified for us, we're not willing to bear suffering. We're not willing to go through trials and tribulations and challenges to continue and persist. We're not willing to work when it doesn't feel good. We're only motivated by the excitement of it because we don't have a fundamental why. And so here, I think that's why a lot of people aren't happy, but also why a lot of people don't persist to achieve the greater things that they might want because they can't identify the real reason they want it. So they're not willing to do the hard work to get them to where they want to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does. It does make sense. I guess the next logical question would be, how do we find our why?
I love this question. Um,
Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and want more thought-provoking ideas straight to your inbox, join the Relatable Wisdom email list. It's free, quick, and filled with bite-sized insights, inspiring quotes, and behind-the-scenes reflections from our guests. Just head to relatablewisdom.com/join. That is relatablewisdom.com/join, or tap the link in the show notes. And hey, subscribing to the podcast helps more than you think, and it's free. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're listening. All right, let's get back to the conversation.
it's not easy. It's not easy. So I've given suggestions. So I've been a professor for a number of years and been teaching for maybe 15 years, something like that. So I've had a lot of students who are in college and they're figuring that out. They're trying to figure out their why, their life. This is a big part of that transitional period of college. And so the first thing that I suggest to them is you need to have time away from this. You need to have time away from your phone. You need to have time away from computers. You need to have time away from other people. And a lot of people don't love this because being alone can feel isolating, but you need to be feeling yourself. You need to be thinking for yourself and not taking in other people's opinion, not distracting yourself with social media or trying to think, well, I want to look sexy like this person, or I want to, have a yacht and a boat like this person. It's easy to distract ourselves with those things. And so the first thing is to step away, which can be the hardest. And the second thing is to really think outside of any social expectations about two things in my perspective. What do you love spending your time doing? And what are you best at? Which tend to go together. You tend to be good at it. And then on the other side, what do you not like spending your time doing? And what are you not so good at? That can also be really challenging. And I suggest that people actually write this down, because when you just try to think about it in your head, it gets all swirly. It gets confusing. You kind of lose your train of thought. But by writing it down, you can anchor and make really clear, I love reading, and I'm a really good comprehensive reader. I can read a challenging book and really get a lot out of it. I do not love talking in public, and I'm really not good at it. I get uncomfortable. I get nervous. I stutter, whatever it might be. And so having these two understandings that you can ground yourself in, first, know yourself, right? So if you know yourself, you can then say, okay, how might I view any particular job? And so is your career path or life meaning and purpose. And if you're that person who loves reading, but hates, for example, talking in public, you might not want to be a politician. You might not want to be a big leader. But someone who reads could do a very good job in law. Someone who you need to read, cases all the time. So here, I think knowing yourself first, and I think a lot of people don't know themselves as well as they think. And so I suggest coming back to this list and then showing it to someone you trust, because sometimes it's hard to assess ourselves. We're so hard on ourselves. We're way harder on ourselves than we should be. So give it to a really honest, trusted friend and say, this is my list as I try to figure myself out. What do you think? And they might be like, what? No, you're a great speaker. Or like, you really think you're a good reader? Huh, that's interesting. And they can help you open yourself. But here, I think the first thing you think, how do I spend my time and what drives my meaning?
Yeah, I like that part where you're like, you really think you're a great reader? Huh. What are you basing this on?
Right, exactly.
It's like, if you're a great reader, I'm a great writer.
Yeah.
They just call your BS to say that. No, that's BS.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One of the tricky parts about this exercise is that for young people, and for most young people of this in this time and age, because they don't uh, step away from the phone, because they're not out there in the world living life, trying things, just being adventurous, of course, in a good way, right? They don't
Yeah.
even know what they can do or they cannot do because they've never tried anything, right? It's just been that one part from childhood, like, and they've stuck to the routine. They've not like, oh, this painting is nice. I should try it and see if I like it. Or music, oh, that stuff looks interesting. I should try. They've never tried anything. So when you ask that question, they're like, no, I don't know.
Yeah. So here's where, and I love this. I love this idea. I think you're right. I think we're scared to try because we feel like we have to be perfect. We have to commit fully. But here, trial and error is the entire way that we learn throughout lifetime, throughout our lifetime. We live through our experiences. So if you're thinking like, maybe I want to be a teacher, I don't know. What's the best way to figure it out? Talk to some teachers.
Yeah.
Go in, sit in their class for a day. What does it look like to be teaching in an elementary school? Ask if you could teach a class for them. The more experience you can get, the better off you are making a strong decision versus trying to sit in your head and just think it through. You don't have all the information. You need to go out in the world and learn what that looks like. What does that job look like? And here, what I love is people don't love doing that because that's a big commitment. What if I spend all summer, the next 3 months working with this teacher and I realize I don't like it? Isn't that a waste of time? And the thing I always tell them is absolutely not. First of all, you figured out one thing you don't want to do in life. So you didn't commit to teaching and then realize you didn't like it. You realized it first. And secondly, didn't you gain a lot of skills? What could you take from learning how to teach this summer, shadowing this teacher, being in this classroom, that you could apply elsewhere? Oh, well, I learned how to deal with a lot of rowdy kids at the same time. Wonderful. That's a fantastic skill, being able to kind of get people's attention and focus them. Oh, I learned that you really have to struggle through and give people individual attention when they're struggling with their work. Okay, so you learned emotional regulation and empathy. There's no such thing as failure. There's no such thing as wasted time. There's only learning. And so here, what I would say is start by trying. Start by figuring out, and you can be smart. You don't have to try everything that comes up to you. But if you're sitting there thinking, I think I want to do into teaching, or maybe I think I want to go into be a lawyer or something like that, great. Maybe both of those are good options. Try them as opposed to thinking over and over about the same thing.
Yeah, because for me, ironic because a lot of persons are like, I don't know what I'm good at, and I'm like, oh, I'm not good at this, I'm good at this, and I'm like, how do you know you're good at something if you've never tried it in your life, right? There are
Yeah.
certain peculiar recipes that are common to me in my own part of the world that I might mention, and like, oh, I don't think I would like that. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
have you eaten it before? Have you seen it? Have you tasted it before? You're like, no. How do you know you like it if you've not? And I'm like, same thing. A lot of things you've not tried things out, so you don't even know what you like or don't like. And so you're like, this thing, no, that stuff is scary. That stuff is stupid. That stuff is try it, and then you'll be able to tell that, oh yeah, I tried it. That stuff is not for me. And then yeah, okay, no problem. So what's for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I fully agree. And we've got to try and encouraging that. And then also being open to allowing people to discover who they are. Because I think a lot of us, we see the people in our lives the way we see them. And you might look at your friend and think, oh, you're an athlete. You're not the bookworm kid sitting in class. That's who you are. Like, no, don't go read. Let's go play a game. You like doing that. And here, I think we tend to conform. We kind of tend to change to other people's expectations. Well, they tell me I should be the athlete, so I'm going to act like the athlete around them. And here, I think a big challenge is even if you feel like it's not right, you continue doing it for other people. And so finding ways to be able to see who am I doing this for? And then recognizing how can I be better to my friends, to the people around me, to allow them to explore and not kind of pigeonhole them or stereotype them into a certain way that I believe, I think is really key to this as well.
Yeah, yeah. And why would you just explain uh, the concepts of the why and how, it just occurred to me that as much as we're talking about the why, right? Why you're doing what you're doing, which it's like a long term things. Sometimes we need to know the why for certain projects that last 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year, 2 years, right? Short term projects you're just working on. These are not career choices, life choices, or things you decide to do, right? This could be oh, I'm going to start what's an example of a short term project? I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. uh
Of a
a short term project, like something, a project that could last 6 months, not a life choice or career choice. Yeah.
Yeah, so this could be like if you like I don't know, we were talking about lawyers, for example, earlier. This could be a single case for a
Okay.
lawyer, maybe it
Okay.
lasts a few months. Or maybe it's one semester of a school, like in the fall or the spring for if you're a teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So the case of a lawyer, you get to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Right? And who am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? Because that it gets to put, because you might be doing something in the career choice that you figured out the why, but that specific scenario, you don't really know why you're doing it. So you don't even know how the thing connects to your grand why and why everything is connected and all that. And so it might be difficult at that point in time to really carry through that project.
Yes, 100%. And I see this, I have to remind myself of this all the time. So when it's late at night, I want to go to bed, but I'm replying to emails or something like that. Emails I don't really care about, but I know the other people do. I'm sitting here like, oh, okay, I wish I could just go to bed, but maybe I just don't do these, or maybe I don't do a very good job of them, so I get to bed earlier. Let's just get them. And if I'm thinking of them as things I have to do, emails I have to send, yeah, I don't care about email. But if I stop and I think, my client asked me a question, they're waiting on my response, and they care what I have to think. Why am I doing my whole job? To help people in their lives. And this email is going to help my client be happier in their life, be less worried. They're going to know that I'm thinking about this and I can help them and I care. And so when I think about it that way, I don't need to go to bed right now. Let me make sure that my client gets the email that's going to do the best for them. And it's
Yeah.
sometimes simple as just thinking about it differently and taking that perspective shift.
Yeah, yeah, it changes the same work, right? Nothing changes about the work, but now it appears as though the work changed.
Absolutely. And there's this whole big field in psychology research on mindset. So thinking about how can the way you think about something actually change the reality of how it happens. And it is some really cool science showing just the way we think about things like what we eat or how stressed we are or how beneficial a pill might be for our headache. Just the way we think about it can change. So if you really want to be encouraging kind of a positive outlook in life, you need to practice it.
Yeah,
When you want to have a glass half full perspective on things, it doesn't come easy for most of us, and it's not going to happen like that. But you can't expect change to be so quick. So you got to practice. Start with small things. Okay, I'm in traffic. I'm stuck somewhere. I can't get to where I need to go. This is really frustrating, but it gives me a good time to listen to some more songs that I love.
yeah,
Okay, this isn't all bad. And once you can get that, all of a sudden, all right, I'm in a fight with, my wife, my husband, whoever it might be. This is terrible. And it's like, no, we both have strong opinions and we both care about our opinions. And that's why I love both of us, because we're so strong in how we feel. This isn't bad. It's just an outcome of the people we are. And it's not easy. It's not easy to think this way, but when you practice, you get there at least a little bit. And when you can do that, it's like magic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. When you talked about, I feel like there's this idea that perception is reality. And
Mhm.
give an example. If let's say someone is scared of snakes, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason, I just put in one of these hyper realistic, what's it called now? Is it toys, snake toys, or something like that? And they see it, and guess what? The adrenaline, everything, they're scared, they're afraid, and all that. And they're like, "Oh, please, somebody help me, help me! I can't. The snake is at the door. I know that. I can't." And they're stuck in the room, and I just tell
Mhm.
them that no, it's a toy snake, and they're like, "Oh." Right?
Right?
Everything just switched. Now they're no longer scared. Now they're no longer afraid. And I'm like, oh, well, nothing changed about the thing that was there in the first place. It's just the what they perceived it to be has changed.
Exactly. And you realize that this power, like you're saying, like, look at how powerful that is in one split second to go from terrified to calm and okay. And here it's happening everywhere in between. And so I think for a lot of people, really thinking positively and really trying to manifest the idea of visualize what you want, visualize yourself really happy, and visualize yourself in the future. And I think a lot of us struggle to do this, to project ourselves way into the future and say, okay, I am 60 and this is what I've done in my life. And that's why it's so fulfilling. It's really hard for most of us to actually do. What does 60 look like? But the more you can look at yourself further out versus shorter term, the more you're going to act based on what that 60-year-old wanted, which is a happy lifetime, versus what that 20-year-old wanted, which is probably a bit more to have some fun now, to do something interesting now. It's a lot more immediate. And
Yeah,
so anchoring yourself in like what's important to me over the next 20, 30, 40 years is going to be huge too, and figuring out your why and how to navigate that.
yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jamie. It's been an absolute delight just chatting about Nietzsche's quotes on when you know your why, you can bear with anyhow.
Well, it was a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks so much for having me today.
What do you do, and where can my listeners learn more about you and what you do?
Absolutely. So I'm a health and wellness coach and consultant. So I do work with individuals and organizations to try to find small ways to make big wellness impacts without changing their lifestyle. You don't need to overhaul your life to be living better.
Yeah.
And you can find me at manifestwellness.co.
Okay. Manifestwellness.co.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Jamey.
Well, it's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, I'll be sure to put the links in the show notes and description so my listeners can just click and go directly to the website. Thank you. You've been listening to Relatable Wisdom, and I've been your host, Wisdom Okonkwo. You've been listening to the podcast where every story, quote, and insight helps you see life a little differently. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who loved the conversation. For more inspiring voices and timeless wisdom, visit relatablewisdom.com. Until next time, keep living, learning, and collecting wisdom that matters most to you.